what's up? This B-Boy R.E.G, Funky Fresh in the Flesh, and today we got two special guests in the house. Mr. Lamonte.
Lamonte G. Hayes?
Yeah. G, what the G stand for?
I can't tell you that. I got to kick it.
Oh, wow.
And Shawn P.
Yeah, and the P stand for I can't say on the air.
Oh, man.
That's how you do it. Yeah,
What's going on,
I'm
fellas?
all right, man. I'm chilling.
Hey, man, I'm sitting next here to a legend, man. I'm sitting across from a legend.
Yeah.
So
we living, so
listen,
we are
right.
legends, yeah.
So listen, I know this ain't my podcast, but I'm going to tell you something about our host, man. And back in 1999, he was the guy that sold me my first house.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he taught me some real
Over on the east side.
On the east side.
Yeah.
Wow. So when that legend of realty calls and he want to talk about some hip hop and some records, I'm on my way.
Oh, yeah.
And all of us had houses back in the day.
Right.
That junk was great.
Yeah.
And what's funny is I learned promotion from watching y'all. I learned how to promote my business watching y'all and Mark Hicks. Because, that was my boy. I'm like, I can put flyers up everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere.
In any business, right?
Yeah.
So I was seeing everybody doing that. So that's what's up.
Wow.
Yeah. So tell us what's going on with y'all. A lot of people want to know, because I know you, of course, and I know you through passing. How did y'all even get into the music business?
You want to? You don't want to start? I mean, you're the elder statesman here.
I'll make it a short story. What happened? I was on the radio station, 90.9 FM. R.E.G had left, and I started playing all rap. I was like, man, I like rap music. I don't want to play the sleepy R&B and all that. I like R&B.
Right.
It's just, So Tommy Boy Records, somebody from the record company called me and said, hey, man, you want to go around passing out flyers and posters and all this and sending records to DJ? I'm like, what is that called? It's called street promotion. Didn't know what it was. Next thing you know, started doing it, and tons of companies was asking for me to do it. Yeah. So it was fun.
Wow.
Yeah, that was the short story.
Well, mine is, I hope it's more exciting. But
there you go.
So the way I got started, actually, I was in college, and I actually worked at a hotel. I went to school down at Tennessee State University, which is where I did graduate from. I always tell people
Yeah.
With a degree in accounting and business law, which I don't use to this day, but that's fine.
Right.
But what I used to do is first I was working in what they call convention services, the rolling the tables and the chairs.
Right.
And then I graduated and got the room service. Thought that was a big deal.
Right.
So I'm taking food up to people's rooms. And there was this one guy, every month he would come to the hotel, and he would always tip me $50. I just brought him a sandwich. He tipped me a $50. Now, I knew it wasn't no funny business, so I was just like, okay, it's cool. Right. And one day we just got to talking, and I was like, it's junior year, get ready to be senior year. Well, what do you do? He said, well, I'm in the music business. I said, well, where can I put an application? He said, no, it don't work like that. I said, well, how do you get involved? He said, well, this is what you do. Give me your address, and I'm going to send you some records, and I'm going to tell you where to take them. So the first record he sent me was Party and Bullshit off the Who's the Man soundtrack.
Yeah,
who was it?
It was Jeff Thomas. You remember Jeff? Jeff was back in the very beginning.
Light-skinned Jeff.
No, tall Jeff.
Man, no.
You know Sugar Dice, Chuck Bone. All of those were the very beginning days. Lou Tucker. Okay. I think Mark knows a lot of those guys.
Yeah.
But actually, that record kind of, it didn't do what they wanted, but it did. Right. That was my first introduction. Mm-hmm. And after that, then came Jodeci. Wow. And after that came Mary.
Right.
And we wasn't getting no checks. You know what I mean? At least I wasn't. But at the time, we would get the promo items. Right. I'll never forget, I had a Uptown Records jacket on walking around campus.
Yeah.
That was better than me being a football player. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And again, after that, same as you, the phone just kept ringing. Yeah. You started to move around a little bit, then I eventually came back to Detroit.
Right.
And when I came back to Detroit, see, Mark and Shawn had been stamped as the man.
Yeah.
So I was a third wheel. So I just picked up, and it wasn't necessarily the trash, but I picked up, you know what I mean? And what I always tell people about that time for us, what was super unique and what they didn't do in other markets, that we never bickered.
Nah.
We never fought.
Right.
We never backbit. I can't say backbite.
Right.
People would try to pit us against each other, and I would say, no, we don't do that here.
Right.
If that's Shawn is this.
Right.
If that's Mark's, and I can do my...
Right.
And if Shawn can't do it, then I don't... Nope.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I always... And I don't know if that was something we learned, because we never sat down and talked about it.
No.
Okay.
But that was one thing, at least in our era, in the beginning of what we call street promotions, we all work together without working together, if that kind of
Right.
makes sense.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
We respected each other. We knew, again, if it came to Bad Boy, that's
Right.
Mark Hicks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it came to Priority,
Yeah.
that's Sean P. If it was Def Jam, that's Lamont.
Right.
And it was
Left
never,
it
never, ever
alone.
any BS.
Yeah.
So I think even to this
Yeah.
day, that was a super cool thing about, you know, what we did in terms of being able to coexist. And I think what that taught us without it teaching us is that in whatever environment it is, if it's real estate, if it's music, if
Right.
it's selling cheeseburgers,
It's enough for
you could be
everybody.
Wendy's, I could be McDonald's,
Yeah.
and I could be the guy, and we can
Yeah.
all have a piece of the pie. You know what I
Right.
mean? So
Right.
I got a funny story. See if you remember this. One time I was at the radio station. This when I was first starting in the business, and I ran into Vic Givens. I didn't know who he was. He had a
Okay.
ponytail, and I had a rap magazine at the time called The Street Promoter.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he gave me $100. I was like, "What's this for?" He said, "Put my artists in your magazine, and that's for future reference." Like with the tip and all that.
Right,
You
yeah,
never
right.
know. And
Yep.
that's how you just, man,
Right.
I was just out there meeting people.
yes.
Right.
And that was the joy of doing it. That was the most fun part.
Right.
Meeting people.
Meeting the
Yeah.
people.
Yep.
Meeting people.
Yeah. So what are some of the biggest albums or projects you guys work? Because I know like Mark, I seen the plaque, the Coolio plaque.
Oh,
like we was
yeah.
all in awe, like, oh, he got a plaque on the wall. It's
Right,
Coolio.
right.
Right.
Big in general, or just big to me?
Big to you. Right.
I got to be honest with you, and you might laugh. There was an artist back in the day called Domino.
Yeah. Oh,
that
yeah.
was
Everybody
big.
know
You know
that
what I
was
mean?
big.
Domino had a record
Here we
called
go.
Super-
Here we
That was
go.
big.
Yeah.
Well, some people are like, who's Domino?
Nah.
They got to remember the song. That's
Yeah,
what it, yeah.
But
yeah.
the reason why Domino was important to me or special to me, because at that time I was still kind of learning.
Mhm.
Right.
And that was one of my first plaques.
Mhm.
And as I've gotten older, I want the checkboard and the plaque. But again, it's cool to have the plaques. But
Mhm.
probably that, and probably some stuff when I worked at MCA with Mary J. Blige.
Okay.
Because in the beginning, into my life and all that, the younger kids like us, we didn't get no plaques.
Right.
But once I came around and started to work at MCA as a regional rep,
Okay.
you know, and I got tons of plaques from Mary. And I know Mary, and I've seen her through her growth of
Yeah,
from the
she done
beginning,
came
Right.
long
a
way.
long way. And it's
Long
like,
way. I tell people when I see her now,
Yeah.
she
Right.
came up because I remember the days when
Yes.
she would be sitting in the corner
Yep.
at the radio. Station.
Yep.
Like, what's
Yep.
wrong with her?
Yep.
And I
Right.
never knew until it come out later. You be
Right.
like, wow,
Yeah,
they know the
you look-
story behind the story.
absolutely.
That's,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
Now, what about you,
What
Sean? 'Cause I
about you,
missed
Sean? Yeah.
To me, the coolest one was Crucial Conflict because everybody hated that group.
Wow.
Cause Smoking on Hay.
Yeah,
It didn't
sm-
blow up right away. The video blew up on the box. That's what made all the DJs start playing it. They didn't like that song until the video started blowing up. And,
Right.
and I remember Tyrone Bradley calling me, Sean, what is this song? Something, hey. I said, hey, I gave you that record.
Right.
He said, man, I don't even remember you. I said, yeah, y'all dogged it in the beginning. And it blew up through the box. And
Hey,
that's when, yeah.
Hey, shout out to Tyrone Bradley. So I
Yeah.
don't know if y'all know this. He's actually one of my dance instructors. He
Oh,
teaches
really?
me and my wife how to dance.
I'll get
yeah.
out. And
We
you know
great
what I
stuff.
hate? All these
Yeah.
years, I never learned how to dance. I said, that's
Yeah.
sad. All
How
those
you gonna
times
be in the record business and you can't
going
dance?
to the clubs and all. I said,
Yeah.
I should at least ballroom. I
Yup.
ain't do nothing.
He's the
I was hating on
godfather.
that, yeah.
Yup.
He was the man. Yeah.
So you
Still is the
so
man.
so people had the record, they wasn't playing it, then
Yeah.
the video
The
blew it up.
video blew it
Right.
up on the box, and that's when
That's
everybody
funny.
started jocking it.
So you know what's still funny about that? I don't know if you are familiar with Little Rel. He's a comedian.
Yeah,
He's from
yep.
Chicago.
Right.
And if you saw a special, that's what he closed the show out with.
Wow.
Yeah,
I
yup.
didn't even peep that.
Oh, yeah,
Nah,
yeah,
okay,
yeah. So
wow.
some of the work that you guys did
Yeah.
back then is still
Yeah.
effective to this day, and that's
right.
what's really
Right.
interesting to me about,
Yeah.
like you said, even with like the TikTok and the social media outlets,
Yeah.
and all of these records.
Yeah.
And I laugh because even in the car, like one of the current TikTok trends is the Lost Boys. So
Yeah,
the Lost
yeah,
Boys
yeah.
actually were on Uptown, right?
Right.
So those are the homies, and it's funny about them and even Biggie. And I know Mark will tell you this: they love Detroit corned beef.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
That was one of the funniest things about the LBs. But it's interesting again how what we did those years ago
Right.
is kind of came around the block a little bit. Yeah.
So
man.
part of your job too, I remember with Mark or even hearing you guys talk about it, you had to take the artists around when they came to town.
Mm-hmm.
Who was the most exciting artist to hang around? a story you can actually tell and not.
Well, I got to be honest with you. I think, and Mark, you might back me. What's your name?
Shawn.
You're not Mark Hicks.
Hey, old age.
I still feel like when we talk about the word excitement, and I was talking to somebody about this the other day, I think we were trained a little differently. When I say that, I mean we didn't come from the era of we were the rep. We worked for a label.
Yeah.
Okay.
So first of all, you don't get any pictures.
Right.
You not. This ain't playtime for you.
Yeah.
This ain't X. No. We didn't.
Yeah.
You hear? Okay, we got to take care of this
our
itinerary.
job.
Right.
So I kind of didn't look at a lot of people, but I will be honest. It was somebody I didn't work with, but when I worked at MCA, we had a Christmas party as we're in the Christmas season now. And what the president made us do is that we had to sit amongst people at the label that we didn't know. And there were artists and things in the room.
Wow.
Right.
So I actually got to sit next to Slash
Okay.
from Guns N'
Wow.
Roses.
Wow.
And me and him, we got mad cool. We ended up going in the back, smoking a little. When I puffed a little,
Right.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
Right.
And he was a cool dude. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So even though that wasn't direct, because again, I would have never thought that I would have connected with somebody like that.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, but a lot of other artists like you, I would have like mad respect for, like, and again, just putting it in the MCA or Motown days, but like Stevie Wonder, you like, yo, that's Stevie Wonder for real. Like, you know, Miss Patti LaBelle, for real. And I tell the story all the time too, and then I'll let you, put your piece in. But one time, I wasn't actually working. I had to go up to Michael Powell's studio, Vanguard over in Southfield.
Yeah.
And actually, Miss Aretha Franklin was in the kitchen cooking. You remember it was a kitchen over there?
Yeah.
Yep. When she was up there doing the rose to the rose, and I never forget Miss Franklin said, "Baby, you hungry?"
And then you had to say, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Right. If you cooking,
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
And on my mama, man, that was the best chicken I ever had. You know what I'm saying?
That's crazy.
So I think, I'm guilty of this, and you too, probably, Shawn, is when these things are happening, you don't really.
Yeah.
But once you sit down and kind of
reflect.
like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I just ate some chicken cooked by Aretha Franklin.
Right. Everybody don't have that story.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's true.
And even with some of the interactions and it's sad to a degree where we are in our ages, because I start thinking about a lot of people that have passed on,
Right.
and just certain experiences that we have had, and one of my, I always talk about one of the things that I do regret is even when I worked at Blackground. Remember, I said we were in the era we didn't take pictures. I only maybe had one or two pictures of me and Aaliyah.
Wow.
And I don't know where they are now.
Yeah.
So I don't have the camera phone reel or upload.
You had the instant. You had to.
Or the Polaroid. I remember having a Polaroid.
Yeah.
And you had to take them to Perry's or Arbor to get them developed.
I remember that. Yeah.
Hey, Shawn, so tell me about, because you promoted a lot of local artists too. We was just talking about Play School. I found some old footage of Play School. Name some of the local artists you worked with.
Play School, that was my group. Two Sins, Trick.
Yeah.
I did stuff for them. It was sad when they boy got killed.
Yeah.
Remember that? Yeah. You be like, all of a sudden, boom, it's just, it was a lot of people. I promoted Mark.
Yeah.
Authority.
Oh, yeah,
Top
Authority. I remember hearing that song on the, you got it on the new dance show, right? Yeah. I was like, that's Mark.
He was happy.
Yeah, I bet he was.
Shoot, it was a lot of people. Jake the Flake. From Flint.
I
And
remember.
up to this day, I still listen to his CD. And somebody said, man, you still? I said, yeah.
Yeah.
He was one of the artists, you just hearing his stuff. He was different.
Right.
Because it was the Dayton family, and then it was Jake
Yeah,
the Flake.
Sure
that's true.
was.
Yeah,
I forgot about the Dayton family.
Yeah.
So-
How you forget about the Dayton family?
No.
Yeah.
And wait a minute. And don't judge me. Don't
Right,
judge me, right?
right.
So sometime when I come home, I get in my little Detroit little whatever, right?
Yeah.
So I was even yesterday listening to some old Street Lord records.
Yep.
And I have forgot they had a record with Beanie Siegel.
Yep.
See,
They
that's
did
when I was
Be
all out of
Legit.
business.
Didn't they do something with Be Legit?
It was a
Yep.
whole. I was
They
like,
had
wait a
bunch
minute,
of
I
people.
forgot
Yeah.
about all of these
Yeah,
records.
Yep.
And I think what happens is, because I have a couple of storages, right?
Okay.
You probably the same way. It's in your house and
I
garage.
got all my stuff.
And
Ain't in storage.
No,
I got
but I'm
all
saying
of
like
it.
you start to go through these promo, and you be like, I forgot
Right.
about this.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you all the story. Now, don't judge me.
Nah,
You all know the guy. He's a flamboyant guy, black guy. He's always in all of the award shows. He was in that movie, Pose. Homosexual guy. I forgot his name. But if you looked it up, everybody know who he was. But come to find out, I was in my storage. I had a whole box of promos when he was on A&M Records.
Wow.
I didn't
What's
remember.
his name? You don't even remember
I'm a
his name?
good guy. You know I'm a mess around. And
Wow.
He was on the, you never saw the show Pose?
No.
I might be telling on myself.
People been telling me
Yeah,
to
yeah,
watch
yeah.
it.
Right.
I just haven't had time.
I ain't
to
gonna
watch
lie,
it.
that was a good show because I had
Wow.
heard a lot about it.
Yeah, that's what I heard
Yeah.
about it. Wow.
Hey, didn't one of y'all wasn't one of y'all working with Bombshell?
Oh, that was
you?
Billy
Okay.
Porter.
Wow.
Oh yeah, Billy Porter.
I promoted his record. Had no idea.
I
Wow.
had no idea. That's crazy.
Yeah,
That's
but,
funny.
but Shell was that's
Yeah.
my dog. Shout out to Bombshell, man.
Yeah.
And actually, a lot of people ask me like, where did I get my name? And my actual name came from Bombshell
Wow.
because Bombshell made a record called Big Willie.
Yeah.
Don't ask me why
yeah,
she
I
came up with
remember,
that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember Big Willie.
Right.
Yeah,
And
wow.
I always tell people one of the biggest compliments Shell used to gave to me directly and indirectly was she said, Lamont, the reason why I mess with you is because you're the kind of person, if you don't know the answer to something, you know somebody that does.
Yeah.
Right.
And it always made me feel like to try to go 110%. And I do have some, I don't want to call them regrets, but sometimes I wish we had more information.
Right.
Because what a lot of people don't know is that before there was an artist named Foxy Brown on Def Jam, there was a guy named R.E.G that was really high on Bombshell.
Yeah.
He wanted to
Oh,
sign
wow.
Bombshell.
Wow.
Oh, he loved her. And actually, wish I would have known what was it called? They wanted to do a joint venture.
And you
I didn't know what that
right,
was.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And look. And it had gotten so bad up at Def Jam at that time that this Foxy Brown signee had heard about this girl from Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
And she went and called her, who is this girl? I'm supposed to be such. Then some other things didn't happen, but I just look back on those days and I just think about, like, I wish we have had the internet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That was
I
going
wish
to be
we-
my next question. Because
Yeah.
now, because I have to really ask y'all, because a lot of artists come out now, they think they can just go straight to the internet.
Mhm.
So my question is, how important is still having a team behind you? How important is radio and video? Because everybody think I'm just going straight to the internet and I'm going to blow
He
up.
answered that.
How you pointing it? I mean,
I ain't into it.
No. Here's what I say is like,
Yeah.
there's different level of the music business,
Right.
and I think you got to figure out like, do you want to go and buy? And there's nothing wrong with buying your shoes at JCPenney. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's nothing buying your shoes at Macy's. Some people like to go to Gucci. Some people like to go to Bergdorf Goodman.
Right.
And I feel like they're just different levels of the music business. Even like what's going on right now in Detroit with a lot of artists that are doing a lot of big things, right?
Right.
Some artists I know, some I don't. Some I'm helping, some I'm not.
Right.
But like I'm seeing some of these things that some of these guys are doing, like the Babyface Ray guy, right?
Yep.
I don't know not their record from this guy, but the moves that him and his squad is making,
Right.
it's like they're like a well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
Because from when you sit at home and turn on Jimmy Fallon,
Right. That is
I said,
crazy.
I had to cut, like, I don't know, dude, but I'm getting ready to download dude right now. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
Because so I think if you want to play at that level of the game, absolutely. But if you just want to be an internet thing,
Right.
that is possible, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Some people again they don't aspire to be at a higher level, and I think for me, what I tell people is, again, you can go out and get a car, but what kind of car you want?
Right.
And you better be careful if you want that Rover or you want X, Y, and Z.
Right.
Rover brake job different.
We all had them.
You can't call my phone talking about, well, I got 1,500.
Right.
No disrespect, but my man, that's not.
Yeah.
I'm not at that level, and not that I'm whatever, but it's just what it is. So, is it important if you want to be at the top tier of the music business? Absolutely. But if you want to just, add water, Kool-Aid, sugar, and stir, and get what you get, that's what you get. But also understand this: if you look at any DSP today, they're uploading over 100,000 records per day.
Crazy.
Say it one more time. Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, YouTube. They're uploading 100,000 singles a day.
Crazy.
So when you take that in perspective and you look like, okay, well, what am I doing?
Right.
And again, you just got to be honest with people. It's like, you got $5,000. You got to, honestly, And when there was a big hubbub about people on the internet talking about you have to have about $200,000 to go to radio, well, that's about right.
Right. Right.
You know, so if you're not in that realm, just understand where you are. And again, it's nothing wrong with, you know, because for me, and again, cut me off, Shawn, 'cause, you know, I go long.
Nah.
But,
you doing good.
you know, what this is supposed to be about is supposed to be about exposing your art. And your art might not be for everybody.
Yeah.
Right.
That's true.
You know what I mean? It's not for the masses. Everybody ain't going to be on Jimmy Fallon. You know what I mean? Everybody's not going to do, you know, shout out to the homie Vez. I just got the call. He just got the Rap Caviar billboard in Times Square. I'm sending somebody down there right now to take a pic. That ain't for everybody.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Because you might not be in that lane. And I think what I've learned, again, even with this new generation of artists, is that they have more information at their fingertips.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
And some of them are understanding that you have to have a team and you have to have the money to go to radio and you have to do X, Y, and Z. Because some of them, I'm working some of the records. Some of them I'm just, you know, helping out, whatever they might need. But they're like, yo, Lamont, you know, I think they've also understand that there's some things on the internet that doesn't have the true value that they thought it might have. Because having 3 million followers, that doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah.
No.
Because if your engagement is like less than 1%,
Right.
you know, and like somebody explained this to me. Think about this. If Beyonce has 35 million followers, right? And on Super Bowl night or day or whatever it is, it only gets 20 million people to watch. Beyonce has more juice in the Super Bowl. And we all know what Super Bowl advertising costs, right?
Right.
So the internet is not going to allow you to have your true potential on the internet of really reaching your audience on your followers.
Right.
Then the other issue that I'm having, and again, I'm about to get a drink in a minute and get to talk, is there's also a false sense of, I'd say reality of comfortability with those followers, because if you can't engage them or have them come out and buy a ticket for $20, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Right.
1 million views on YouTube, it brings back like $2,600
Right.
before taxes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And that's my other issue that I'm having.
Right.
This venting time for me, so just give me a minute. Right? Is a lot of these artists, and there are a few that I've had conversations with. I said, man, listen, and don't get it twisted. I don't want to act like I'm not a victim of this. But you cannot be out here making this cake and not, forget paying, and not filing your taxes.
Yeah.
It's illegal to not file. It's not illegal to owe.
Right.
I learned that from a tax attorney, because I tell people all the time, do you remember the time when I had all that Reebok stuff? Right? Back in the day. So back, I think it was like 95, whatever it was, I got a Reebok account, right?
Okay.
And the first check I got from Reebok was $75,000. Wow. Okay?
Right.
So I take my little, like one of the rappers said, I took my little grocery bag and my little check, because I'm thinking I'm going to go to the bank and they're going to give me $75,000.
Right.
Well, of course, we know they got to put a hold on this and that, because I didn't know. And that's actually when I got a relationship with a banker, which is another thing that you need to do if you're doing X, Y, and Z.
Right.
So whatever. I finally, the check cleared. I got the money. Now, what a lot of people don't know, and I don't have a problem saying it now, is I had to do a little kickback. So I had to kick somebody back a 10-piece. Fine.
Right.
I still got $65,000.
Right.
Now, I got to do some work, but I still got $65,000, which kind of helped me buy that house.
Right.
Right? And I had this, and there was a boat over there on Harbor Hill Marina, and I had the earring in my ear. I was hopping.
Right.
We got other stuff going on, but here's what happened 5 to 7 years later. This thing called an audit.
Yeah.
This thing called me not having understanding of when I gave him that 10-piece.
Should have.
That
1099.
I didn't know what 1099 was.
Right. Right.
I didn't know X, Y, and Z. And then even one of the guys, the IRS agent said, wow, you make more money than some drug dealers. Wow. IRS agent said that to me.
Yeah.
And again, even just recently, I'll keep it 1,000. Like in the past 5 years.
Right.
It's when I got all that stuff straight from back then, because I owed a lot of money.
Yeah.
They got me back in the day.
A lot
What's
of
my
money.
name did my taxes?
Who?
Walter Esau.
Right.
That's my boy, but I still talk about it, man.
I think every entrepreneur been through it. I've been through
it's
it.
not a good
Payment,
feeling.
installment plans, all of that. Because nobody taught us about getting lump sum money. They all taught us how to get the money. They didn't teach us how to manage it.
You know what was funny? We
What's
should have
that?
did like the Wayans brothers when Pops.
Oh, yeah.
he said, I told y'all that crazy.
Right.
To this day, I laugh at that episode because that is not funny.
Yep.
Going into that IRS
Oh,
office.
man. Yeah.
But I also learned, just let me say this before you go to your next question, is
Yep.
because hopefully this will help somebody else. And I had to learn this too. There's a very large difference with a person who's doing your taxes like a CPA and also having a tax attorney.
Yeah.
See, I had to get to the stage of the tax attorney that helped me so much get through X, Y, and Z. And I also learned that the IRS targets small businesses.
Wow.
Yep.
We are targets. Tax attorney, he showed me, he said X, Y, and Z. Wow. 1 year, and after this, I'm going to be quiet. They did an audit, and they purposely sent all of the information to an old address when they know I moved somewhere else.
Yeah.
And they disallowed every deduction on a tax return, which means if you had a $3 receipt for gas, nope. What?
Yep.
So the tax attorney, we went through everything and got it straight and had to do. But again, those are the things I think now we have to start helping with some of these young brothers.
Right.
Understand that piece of the puzzle of not just getting the money and doing the promotions and all that, but what do you do to make sure that you stay in good financial standing with them people? Because they coming.
Oh, yeah. Well, it ain't new. I mean, Kumo D went through it, so we could go through it, too. And he went to work in the Wild Wild West.
You be like, this is crazy.
Hey, Shawn, I remember I still got, like, some old videotapes. I used to tape your show.
Wow.
Remember you had the show? What was Video Go-Go? Okay, that was the name of it. Yep.
How that came about, I was doing my own show. And let me tell you, this is a Detroit story.
All right.
I had a video. I think it was Apache from Tommy Boy.
Yeah.
I went to R.J. Watkins. I said, hey, man, this is a national artist. Can you play him? Nah, I can't play him.
Wow.
So I was shocked. I'm like, this don't make no sense. This is a national artist.
It's a gangster bitch.
So,
You're not going to play that, right?
It was. So the guy from Tommy Boy said, Shawn, start your own video show.
Yeah.
Play the videos that you promote.
Right.
Make the money off of that. Boom, 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 and all that.
Right.
That's how I ended up doing the Shawn P show. Nat Morris seen my show.
Right.
He called me out of the blue. He like, hey, this Nat Morris. I hung up the phone on him and all that. And Mark called me. He said, Shawn, I'm with Nat Morris. He's trying to call you. He wants you to do the video show. Because Mark used to play on my phone all the time. He used to play on it. That's how I ended up getting Video Go-Go.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah. That's how that happened.
Who you interview Master P, some other people.
Yeah, they flew us out.
Okay.
Tripped me out. They flew us out to California, me and Nat Morris and all that.
Yeah.
And we did interviews with all the artists on the label. That was like a cool moment.
Yeah.
You know?
Hey, you want to know something funny? We had Jack Frost on the show, and he was saying he bumped into Pac. He knew Puffy over the phone, and he was sitting there with Pac, and Pac called Puffy over. They took a photo with Pac, Puffy, and Apache.
Wow.
His boy sent him the photo, but cropped Apache out because he didn't know who he was.
Wow.
And I was like, man, you know how legendary that was? And in the background was Prodigy and Havoc.
Wow.
It's crazy, yo.
But here go another crazy dumb story for me. I remember one time I was passing out flyers for a concert here in Detroit.
Yep.
It was Erykah Badu, and they had special guest Dash Low. I ain't never heard of the girl. My boy said, dummy, she from Detroit. I had to Google her. She had millions of views. I said, man, I'm slow on this music now.
Right.
And that was a crazy moment because I was just out passing out flyers for, I'm thinking Erykah Badu. But Dash Low was just as big. I'm like, Dash Low, yeah. Trip me out. Try me.
Right. Well, didn't you have some artists or something you had signed locally?
Play School.
Just Play School.
And DJ Omega.
Okay.
He made the song "Shake That Thing, Shake That Thing."
Yeah, that was big at the dance street. Back at the dance street, getting into a fight.
And then J.O.B. played it and all that. Yeah.
That's dope. So what are your so thinking about like the artists today, like you talked about the business side of things and the internet, we kind of covered that. What advice would you give like an independent artist or somebody trying to start an independent record label right now?
Right.
I think the first thing I say, even like as the phone ringing now, is there's a lot of traffic.
Okay.
I mean, I think you first got to understand, like, it's a lot of traffic. And the reality is that you're probably going to start at a deficit. And I think understanding that is probably one of the best ways because you know what you're up against. Instead of just having a fairy tale sense of what, you know. And some people say, well, Lamont, sometimes that kind of cuts the creativity off or it makes it doom and gloom. But I think it's about being realistic. You know what I mean? Because sometimes people get very emotional when, you know, not only they spend money, but when they are exposing their art, which is their music.
Right.
Because they want it to be a certain way, but you got to understand, even you know, with me, I had this conversation with one of my old bosses, you know, even on a higher level, it's just understanding how black music, because I still call it black music, has always been underfunded and undersupported, even on a major level. You know what I mean? In terms of the other side of the music business. And what I had to explain to one of my old bosses, I felt like, I said, you know, you never share with us some of the struggles that you guys had back in the 80s and the 70s and the record business. Even with the Michael Jacksons of the world, of me hearing some of the stories that they had to fight in order to get certain things from Mike. You know, behind it, you know. So I think even present day, it's still the same. And I think, like, you know, can it be done? Absolutely. And I think what it should be about it being small and you just grow it. Don't try to go too big. Even if you just start with 100 people. If you can get 100 people to engage with you, and honestly, because it's still a business, and give you $5, start with that. You know what I mean? And be able to grow with that, and be able to have an opportunity for your fan base to give you money. And when I say give you money, it could be in a plethora of different ways. Just don't rely on a Spotify or a YouTube stream because they are not designed to help you. If anything else, they're actually using you for your content to go sell an ad, which is no different than the radio or television. Okay, so your video that has 1 million views is not the priority. The priority is an ad that's next to it. When and if you monetize or not, that comes in there. That's the priority. So once you understand that and you understand the business part of what this really is, then you know how to move and how to navigate. You know what I mean? So is it impossible? Absolutely not. But you got to be realistic because there's people out here that are multi-billion-dollar corporations that could outspend you under the teeth. And I don't care how good your record is. You know what I mean? How dope you think you are. There's somebody else that could spend $2 million just because their concern is a market share on Wall Street that they are, you know, not bidding against, but necessarily trying to sell. Because I use Cardi B as an example. Cardi B as an artist was in the super red, but it wasn't about her financially per se. It was about they were getting ready for an IPO. And you can Google this. This is about the Russian guy that bought the whole shit that said, you know what, we need to be able to say that we have X, Y, and Z on our label, that we have a certain percentage of market share in the black community to do X, Y, and Z. So we're going to overspend with Cardi and be like, well, she ain't this, she ain't that. Sometimes it's a bigger play when you're on that level. You know what I'm saying? But again, just starting out, just get as much information as you can. Try to align yourself. If you got enough money, call Lamont. You know what I mean? And call Shawn if you got enough cake.
I'm not in the business.
No, if you got some money, we can figure it out.
We can figure Shawn.
We'll figure it out. But, you know, again, at first, it took me a while to readjust. And when I say readjust, I had to learn my position in the new space. And that position is, I'm the OG dude now. People want to know and understand what were our experiences back then because that does have value because honestly the record business ain't changed. The internet and all that, they think it's new, but it's no different than Curtis Records. You know, it's no different than the light box that you had up at Chantanix. You know what I mean? So even the method of delivery of understanding how people get the record, a lot of the younger people are understanding that you can't take people out of the mix. No matter what they tell you about the algorithm, no. It's still about going to the locker room tonight, or going to wherever it is that they'll never be able to penetrate because that's us. And once you understand that we are the origin of all of this, like even what just Shawn just said, which I didn't know, I don't know him forever. What Shawn did because of somebody else's advice is he saw an issue and he made a way in order to combat the issue, which is the video show. He created his own.
That's one thing I have learned. And when you get little nuggets from different people, wise people, you be like, wow, Never would. You know, some people would have gave up saying, I can't get my video played. I'm through.
Right.
Now how you going to solve it?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, that's
we
what it's
came
about.
up with a solution.
Yeah, what's
so,
the solution?
Speaking of Tyrone Bradley, how important was the record pool back in the day?
Hey, that was the thing. Go ahead.
It's
That
funny
was
because
the
I
thing.
actually saw Guy Stanley. Shout out to Guy. He posted
The article.
article about the record pool.
Yeah, that was crazy.
So,
I said, wow.
Now I'm gonna go on record a little bit now. So I'm 50 plus, so I can say a little different. I think it had its pluses and minuses.
Okay.
Right.
Right.
I think the plus was at that time it was a way for the DJ, and I have to give Grant G. Raw Green this credit, and this is one thing he said to me one day, is that if you understand the record business, the DJ is the nucleus of the business. He said if you go to some of the biggest producers, they were DJs, a lot of the biggest people who actually ran labels came from DJing.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
the DJ is the nucleus of this thing, what it is we doing. So when you say that, I'm like, you know what? He's
You got
right.
a point.
Right.
You got a point.
So then I said, at that time, because we were in a physical business,
Right.
you're right. It was very hard for the DJ to be able to get all of the music. But my issue with it now, looking back on it, is that, and not just UDMA, but even other record pools across the country, it kind of shut out some of the other DJs, I think.
Okay. All
In
right.
terms of, they weren't able to sometimes get the music that the record pools were able to get.
Yeah.
So somebody,
that's
that little kid that's over there in the corner,
Oh yeah.
that might have a cool little bar,
Yeah.
Right.
and what we were always taught is that a promotion person want to get the music to everybody.
I used to give the music to everybody.
Everybody.
I remember going to a lot of places. It was only like 20, 30 people in there. But
He get a record too.
But the record got played.
Yeah,
so
How,
and that was
how
the goal.
important was the I guess the hole in the wall clubs or the strip clubs to music?
I promoted everywhere.
Everywhere?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you didn't just stick with just trying to get straight to radio. You was like, we need to be in the clubs too. Okay.
I used to always, and me actually spoiled because we still talk quite often. I remember this. The night it was Chocolate City. I remember Hen House had been playing. I don't give a fuck. What's that? He's Cheddar Boy, right?
Yeah.
And
She said, I don't know.
and then one night, and I know some people have some different stories, but I'm just telling you what I saw. One day, Spud was like, "What you doing?" I said, "I'm about to go to Chocolate City, give me something to eat real quick. Come through." And he played that record. Hen House played the record.
Wait, hold on.
Okay.
I told you I'm not the only one that used to go to strip clubs. People think I was crazy.
No,
like I ain't here for that. I'm here to eat.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I was going to eat. I mean, and back
Right.
then it was a little different. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But I'm never going to forget Spud. Hey, Lamont, who was that? I said, that's when he was a program director. I said, yo, that's Eastside Cheddar Boy. He said, hey, man, can you go get me a copy of that?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Hen House, hook him up. And he gave him a copy. And Spud went to the station that night and put on the radio. Wow. Now, again, radio's a different beast than what it was back then.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen because of a big club or X, Y, and Z. At least that instance. Now, I know there was some other things that was going on behind the scenes that people have been working the record.
Right.
But I know that night,
Right.
Hen House gave Spud, and he went downtown and he put that thing in the system.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Crazy.
So I think, again, you never know where it's coming from.
Right.
You never know. So that's why, again, you have to promote everywhere.
Right.
You know, I've heard some stories, and this hurt my heart, where there was a DJ in a club here recently. The artist was in the bar. The artist wouldn't even go speak to the DJ.
Wow.
The DJ played the record, and the DJ came over just to speak to the artist. The artist was like, I don't know, right now, I don't want to talk to nobody.
Wow.
You lying.
That's on my mama, bro.
Was it a Detroit artist
Yes,
or
sir.
a national?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's crazy.
So again, it's just
That's
another
crazy.
introduction, which again, I'm just assuming, even in the realty space,
Right.
there's probably some young kids out here doing
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
that, it's like, that's not the way it's supposed to be
Yeah.
done.
And it's
So,
still the same.
yeah.
That's
So, talking about the youth, like, when we was coming up, it was like Scott LaRock got killed, and then Biggie and Pac was probably the biggest thing. Easy died natural, AIDS or
Easy.
whatever. But now it seems like it's every week, every other week. What's y'all take on what's going on in hip hop now as far as the violence?
Is it hip hop or is this life
Is
in
it
general?
just Is it
That's
just
what I
the
say. I
street
think
life
it's just-
carrying over?
I think it's just the street life and life.
I don't know. I think, well, I kind of want to give you the life piece, but
Right.
at least with some of the younger brothers that I see, and again, you got to be careful.
Right.
It's a lot of everybody getting high.
That's what
Yeah.
it
And
is.
I don't want to say I don't get high. but
Right.
I'm going to drink me some vodka.
Yeah.
But I feel
Yes,
like
sir.
there's a lot of other drugs that are in the space where, it's just,
It's too many drugs.
it
out
is.
here.
I'm also, I don't want to get on the gun thing and the gun control, but it's a lot
Right.
of guns out here. It's
Right.
a lot of, so I might have to go with you, Shawn. It's just a lot of different things that I think are
it's
different in
different
life.
things.
What we,
Yeah.
yeah.
That where, unfortunately, we are magnified in what it is that we do
Right.
in terms of whether it be, from a bad perspective,
Right.
because they're probably the same level of drug use with Post Malone, but we don't get
Yeah.
to see
Yeah.
or it's not as amplified
Right. Yeah.
as the saying. Because
Right.
Post gets high
Yeah.
a lot.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He passes out high. He does,
Right.
but again, when he's presented, you know what I mean? Like, I forgot what the guys said, like, when the rest of the world gets a cold, the black people, we got pneumonia.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Kwame Kilpatrick
Yeah.
said that.
Yeah.
Let's not even talk about Kwame.
Yeah.
The
He
homie.
said that,
Right.
I
He
mean,
said
because
that,
again,
yeah.
he's another example,
Yeah.
in my opinion,
Right.
because he kind of had the hip hop mayor moniker on him.
Yep.
Is that there were some things that he probably could have did different, absolutely. But I think what he was guilty of is probably no different than what they did out there in Royal Oak, or not
Right.
Royal Oak per se, but in Oakland County.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
There was the guy on the east side, the guy, I think it was in Macomb County, who was, I think he called us monkeys or something.
Yeah.
Or,
Oh, the
Yeah.
mayor. Of,
the mayor,
Warren.
Warren. I mean,
Warren,
so
Warren, right.
Yeah,
everybody.
and they keep on voting them in.
You keep on voting them
That's
in.
crazy.
But you know what
I
that's
said, this world
right.
is
Yeah.
jacked up.
That's
So
right.
This world is
I
jacked
think
up.
everybody has their stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I just wanted to say this too, man, is that although there's a lot of bad, but there's also a lot of good.
Good.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I always say there are a lot of young people, young black people,
Yeah.
music and not in music is that,
Yeah.
like I know a lot of young people that are now graduating from MIT,
Yeah.
Yale,
Yep.
Harvard,
Yeah.
Brown.
Yep.
I know some
Yeah.
young brothers that got families.
Yeah.
They get into the cake. They not, you know what I mean? So I
Right.
think
Right.
Yeah.
we got to just be careful of always shining a light on the bad, which again,
Yeah.
we need to
Exactly.
look at it.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's a lot.
But
of
it's a lot of
kids
good,
out here
too,
doing
you know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
We gotta shine more light on that to
Exactly.
balance it out. So what current ventures so y'all got going on? I know Sean P, you got the what's it, Laugh and Giggle
The Laugh and Giggle
podcast.
podcast. I do
Okay.
it
All right.
every Sunday over at Podcasting.
Okay. Cool. That's
Miles.
that's Doc
Doc
Chill.
Chill.
Yeah,
Doc
okay.
Chill, right,
That's
Miles.
his spot. Okay.
That's his
cool.
spot. Yeah.
Cool.
Cool brother.
Yep. And what you got going
Hey,
on?
man, I'm just like an old horse, an old dog.
Hey.
We just out here grinding these records, man. But again,
Okay.
I think my thing is shifting more of a analyzing the market. It's not just working the records now.
Right.
I think it's more of an analytical thing.
Right.
It's more of understanding how to strategically set your record up,
Okay.
and move forward. So, I'm supposed to be plugging, as the homie said, I'm supposed to be plugging my website, bwpmarketing.com.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All the
That's
information
cool.
is there, but you gotta have a check. You know what I mean? Like, you can't call me talking about you got 300, because what I'd rather you do with
Right.
that 300 is we're gonna take 100, we're gonna go give 100 to the mission, and then we're gonna go get some ribs, some chicken, and then we
Right.
can just chop it up.
Chop
get a little
it up.
pot,
Right.
little
Right.
pipe.
What you say?
Yeah.
Sit down for
That's
an
a
hour and
good
chop
song.
it up.
Right.
But but again,
Yeah.
what I am interested in as well, and this is kind of like my next phase, is I want to figure out how we shine some light on some of the non-rap that's coming from the city. And when I say non-rap, I mean I think there's some good R&B stuff that's going on.
Right.
There's some good other
Okay.
areas, even some gospel stuff that's going
Yeah.
on.
Right.
Yeah.
That I think we got to kind of help shine some light on.
Yeah.
Movies. That's
Movies,
another
yeah,
thing. We
okay.
sleeping on the movie
Yeah,
business here
yeah.
in Detroit, and we
Man, I
really
see
need
so
to
many.
embrace
I be on Amazon. Me and my wife
Right.
be watching all the hood movies,
Okay.
buffed up all that
Okay,
stuff.
cool.
Be- Yeah, so
I'm just gonna say this, man. I like it. I mean, there are a few that I do like in terms
Right.
of the movies.
Yeah, out of 10, one be good. But that
Well,
Yeah,
I'll be
yeah.
honest with you.
territory.
But you talked about
It
P.
be national movies that be bad too.
No,
Yeah.
but you talked about P, and I think honestly that's what makes some of the movies good, is because it's kind of the old Master P way of
P,
doing
yeah,
things, of
yeah,
the bad
yeah.
acting,
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
the blood
yeah.
that looks like barbecue sauce,
Yeah,
and ketchup. You know what I mean?
Right.
But
yeah.
but
that's
again,
cool.
and it's funny you say that, because I just had a conversation with someone yesterday about that. I'm with you. There are a lot, and I think some of the guys are doing it, but I think it's about how do you take it to the next level.
Level.
Right.
What that next level is, I don't know.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I don't know
Yeah,
either.
because
I
shooting
agree.
a movie is it's
Yeah.
it's a lot, and it could go bad real fast. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? But
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But again, my thing, like you said, is, and I'm gonna put this on Shawn too. You know, part of our gig now is we got to help. We have to help the next generation where some of the generation before us didn't help as much.
Yeah.
Right.
And it has to be done in a different way. And I always tell this story, and I'm pretty sure we're gonna hit the wrap it up button.
Right.
But one of the most influential people in the record business that helped me the most in Detroit, it ain't Tyrone, it ain't all the other people that we know. It was somebody that I could barely get on the phone. I might have seen them 3-4 times, maybe.
Uh-oh.
Wow.
Who?
You remember? Oh my golly, I'm getting old now. Calvin Ventura.
Oh yeah, he's the man. He's the man.
People don't even know who that is.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was because of Calvin Ventura that, hey, I got my first real job.
Okay.
I found out later there were certain things he was saying, like, yo, look at Lamont. Lamont this, Lamont
Right.
that. Me? I never sat down with the man. I don't.
Right.
If
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
He good people. though.
Oh,
Right.
he
Yeah,
always, and I
always.
always used to feel like
Yeah.
the way that he did me is my responsibility is like, but
Pass
also
it
be a
on to
little, I
somebody
think
else.
be a little bit more hands-on in terms of having conversations. Because I feel like sometimes I wish he would have called and said, hey man, come to the house, sit down and talk to me.
Right.
You know what I mean? You know, so I think again, that's part of our job is just to take the help to the next generation to the next level.
Right.
Because there is another Sean P that's out there.
Yeah.
He figured it out,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
and they need
If
to.
not, my son gonna do it. Yeah, absolutely. I'm like, boy, there's money out here.
Right.
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 Y'all
Yeah,
get it.
yeah. And they got to be motivated.
Yes,
too.
that's true.
They got to be motivated.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. That's a wrap. This B-Boy Reg checking out Funky Fresh in the Flesh.
That's
I want to
it.
thank my guests for coming out
Thank
and
you for
giving us the
having us.
game.
I appreciate you, black man.
Yeah.
All right.
Indeed.
For sure.